Meeting number 5 for Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. The first thing I want to do, I got some sad news this morning, and I wanted to share it with the committee. Bryce's son is back in the hospital. As you know, he was fighting a long battle with cancer. I think he's a senior in high school, and I just heard that this morning. So please, of course, Bryce is the head lead staffer here in this committee, and we all love him. He does a great job. So keep him and his family in your thoughts and prayers. I do have one introduction. We have the Kentucky Athletic Trainers Society here. If they want to stand up, Scott Hilton and Bianca Grimshaw. Welcome. Scott, I understand you're in Northern Kentucky, so you get a special blessing from the chairman. Senator Higdon, I believe you have an introduction.
I do, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. And I have a young man with me here today. I want to introduce Hunter Barrett. He's paging for Representative Fugit today, but he wanted to stop by and see what check out the Senate while he was in the building. He's a freshman at Breathitt County High School, and I'd like for him to stand up. And he's here with his family today. We make him welcome.
Welcome. Any other introductions before we get started? Very well. Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Adams, Senator Douglas, Senator Harper Angel, Senator Higdon, Senator Howell, Senator Mays Bledsoe, Senator McDaniel, Senator Nemus,
Present.
Senator Thayer, Senator Thomas, Chairman Schickel.
Present. Let the record reflect we do have a quorum and are duly constituted to do business. The first item we're going to hear is the last item on the agenda, Senate Bill 344, an act relating to vapor products and making an appropriations therefore. I believe this is your first time in front of this committee. Senator, it's great to have you here. Introduce yourself and your guests for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is my first time here, so appreciate your indulgence as well as the committee's patience. My name is Brandon Storm, Senator of the 21st District.
My name is Jackie Steele. I'm the Commonwealth Attorney for the 27th Judicial Circuit, which is Laurel and Knox County, Kentucky.
My name is Jamie Mosley. I'm actually here today representing a Kentucky company, Crossbar Electronic Cigarettes. I'm also the Laurel County Jailer.
Oh, we love jailers in this committee. Before we get started, since we do have testimony on both sides of this issue, I think it's important for me to point out we're going to budget 15 minutes for this topic. So if you please be respectful of everyone's time, I'd appreciate it. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Senate Bill 344 gives Kentucky an opportunity to enact legislation that cleans up the illicit e-vapor market. Senate Bill 344 sets up a regulatory framework to curb underage exposure to illicit e-vapor. This bill requires e-vapor manufacturers to register with the state and certify that products comply with federal regulation. The state then publishes the list of compliant products in a directory or a registry like the cigarette directories that exist in almost every state. This makes sense because it requires responsible manufacturers who want to compete in the marketplace where reduced harm products like e-cigarettes are appropriately regulated. Further, this policy will allow manufacturers, distributors, and retailers to know which products may be sold in Kentucky where there is ambiguity today. This solution will improve how products are distributed and sold and reduce underage use while also providing adult smokers access to less harmful smoke-free alternatives. I would like to note for the committee that retailers and wholesalers have discussed with me a few technical changes they'd like to see in the bill, and I'm dedicated to working with them to resolve those issues as the matter moves to the floor. And at this time, I would turn it over to my guest, Mr. Steele.
Good morning, and thank you for having us today. Senators, we appreciate that and the opportunity to speak to you on this very important issue. I'm here because I get phone calls and have been getting phone calls for many years now from school resource officers and law enforcement because of the amount of vapor products we're taking off students in the classroom. the young man here who's from Breathitt County, who's a Page, is a freshman. It's not lost on me the irony that he cannot go into a store and buy a nicotine vapor product, but he can go into that store and buy a vapor product that has no regulations to it whatsoever. We're taking kids out of schools on ambulances and gurneys and take them to the hospital because they're catatonic and they don't know what they smoked and what they took because there's no regulation unless it's nicotine. So that's why I'm here, to express to you the concern I have for our youth and what we're seeing in our school system. My wife's an elementary school teacher, and they're taking these off elementary students. Our middle schools, where I have just had my last one left last year, is eat up with these vapor products. High schools are taking so many of them that they now are having to put them in metal boxes, or what I call bomb-proof boxes, because as we know, lithium and liquid do not mix very well without a boom. And when they're taking so many of them that if that was to happen, there would be a major boom. So they're having to take precautions in our school systems so that they're not having explosions in the building. That's how many they're taking off of kids right now. The marketing schemes that they're doing, we're finding these that are cotton candy flavored. We're finding these that are strawberry flavored, that are marketing just to kids. Elf is a name of one. They're marketing to the kids for that purpose. So I would ask this committee to look at this and look at the youth in our schools and the prevention that this could do. Thank you.
Senator Storm asked me to come today in order to kind of provide you a unique perspective of someone who is involved in this industry and who has played by the rules. Part of our challenge today is the fact that we have many who have not. Approximately 6 years ago, the FDA started to announce the deeming regulations. In an effort to combat a tobacco contraband problem and create a tool to give us some ability to deal with behavioral issues inside the facilities, in 2012, I created a product that was specifically designed to be used in jails and prisons. We know that many inmates come in are addicted to nicotine. We wanted to be able to responsibly and safely address that issue while providing facilities the ability to utilize those funds generated from the sale of that to directly impact inmate welfare with programs and vocational training and things of that nature that we were able to fund through the sale of that program. When I invented that product, we put barcoding on it. We put serial numbers on it so that it could be issued and tracked safely within the facilities. The deeming regulations were announced, and we were faced as a company later, once other jails sought to buy that product, we formed a small company to sell that to them. That product's now in 30 states across the U.S. in jails and prisons only. We were faced with a crossroads when the deeming regulations were announced. We could either continue to sell that product at will as long as we possibly could until someone made us stop. Or I could continue the commitment that I've made throughout my career of 13 years of the state police, 2 at the Department of Criminal Justice Training, and approaching 14 as a jailer, of playing by the rules and trying to do the right thing. Over the last 6 years, we've invested almost every single dollar of revenue that we've been able to generate at that company. And our cost now of navigating the pre-market tobacco application process has exceeded $2 million. We manufacture our product in London, Kentucky, with Laurel County residents. We are one of the very few that manufacture their product outside of China. Our concern lies in the fact that there were many who made the other choice to just sell as long as they possibly could. And while we have made every effort, and we are in the substantial review phase of the FDA's process, it's been a very expensive process, it's been a very long process. Probably unusual to see someone who's in the industry supporting regulation. But we feel that regulation is necessary, in helping to take these black market products off of the market that the youth are assessing in convenience stores, vape shops, different. We are supportive of the responsible regulation that allows products who have provided the scientific data, who have done ambient air testing quality studies, behavioral health studies of how we help to transition users off of combustible products and onto a harm reduction product. We support that. It's very frustrating to have made that commitment to doing it the right way.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. I got a couple questions here, but I want to ask, Senator Adams has one. I think Senator Higdon. Would you rather hear from the other side first, or you want to ask this group right now? I was thinking about just taking all the testimony, but we don't have to. Go ahead.
I'll be brief. I know, I think this is a really vexing issue. It's hard because, we're trying to protect kids, and the products are bad, and we're trying to protect kids. I understand that on page 2, section 11, it says that the list on the information, it has received a marketing authorization for the vapor product from the FDA pursuant. How many products has the FDA approved?
So there was initially somewhere in the neighborhood of about 8 million products that were submitted for approval. Many of those, millions of those initially, were not even found to be substantial enough to review the application that they submitted. The application, to give you perspective on that, our application was 9,000 pages of data that we obtained. So there are, to date, and this process ongoes by the FDA, somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 products that have been approved at this point or received a marketing order from the FDA.
Okay, so 25 are approved, and then my follow-up is, if you are an online, because most of these kids get it online, so what's the mechanism by which to clamp down on kids receiving these by going online and having them shipped to their house?
So I can only speak from my perspective that, in our experience in Laurel County, is the closest that we have. We have not found that to be the case of online access. We found there to be plenty of outlets that are more than willing to sell to underage, and we call them underage, but the reality of it is there's no regulation that prevents them from buying the non-nicotine products, which we are seeing most common in schools.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. And I have two more. You want to ask your questions now, or you want to wait to hear the other side and then ask them?
I have a follow-up on that, so it probably made sense for me to ask mine now.
Okay. And the chair recognized Vice Chair Nemus.
Yes. So what you're saying when you say that federal regulated in scientific data, but on page 2, what you're actually saying is approved. The bill says it has to be approved by the feds. Whether it's been scientific data or meets regulations, I don't really see any regulations.
So I think if I'm correct, the provisions which would allow a product to remain on the market fall within 3 primary categories. A, they would have to have been approved and received a marketing order from the FDA to this point. What I'd like to make clear is that the majority of those of us who have applied that remain in the process, that's been ongoing, and we've been in that same stage of the process for about 3 years now. So there's a backlog among the FDA of those companies that have not had their scientific data and the clinical information that have been submitted on our individual product as it relates to our company, that have not had an answer, yes or no, to date.
So the ones that haven't had an answer, according to the bill, have to go off the market until they're approved.
If you have reached the substantive review phase of the process, those products would be allowed to continue on the market until they have received a marketing denial order.
Okay, we have a difference of what the bill says, but okay, thank you.
Senator Higdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jailer Mosley, it's good to see you. I'm here.
Thank
It's
you, sir.
been a few years. We do have a problem with vaping, especially with our underage youth. Probably, other than driver's license, this is probably my second most complaint I get is underage use of vaping products. And there's bad actors out there, plus the internet. So, we do have a problem. We have to address it. One of the things that I noticed, there's a $2,000 initial fee to be listed on that list. For the bigger companies, that's no big deal. But a small company, if you had several products, that's quite an investment. Where did you come up with the $2,000? It's one of those things you reach up in the air and grab, and
Well, if you look on page 11.
that's how we usually do fees in Kentucky.
Well, basically what we're trying to do is come up with a funding mechanism. So on page 11, we've established, beginning at line 4, the state treasurer's a restricted fund known as the Vapor Product and Vapor Product Manufacturer Directory Enforcement Fund. So we're trying to get funds generated that would go back into this for the enforcement mechanism. So if you think we should go up more than 2,000, I'd be glad to consider that. But we're just trying to make it something that would be reasonable, that individuals that want to be in this space they have skin in the game, and make sure that all these there's no more bad actors is what we're trying to get rid of.
Now, my concern was just the small companies. I know that larger companies that are in this space, $2,000 no issue for them, but that was my concern. And also, one other question, Mr. Chairman. I guess the fines from this enforcement would go to this same fund.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got one question, but it's got about 3 parts, if I may.
Okay, part A, B, and C. Proceed.
So part A of that, thank you for bringing this. As a father of teenagers, I understand this as well. Hopefully it's not my kids. It may be, but it's certainly some of their friends that are affected. So I see this on a plane not dissimilar from y'all's. I've got a couple of questions about this. One of these, it's just all the difficulty, right, of trying to regulate something without over-regulating it. And I got lost a little bit in you were discussing there were 25 that had FDA approval or that had gotten to the substantive review stage to where they could still be sold.
So there are about 25 companies. 17 of those, I think, are what is described as ENDS products, which stands for Electronic Nicotine Delivery Systems. So only 17 of that 25 are actually a vapor type product. They have actually received a letter of approval from the FDA, those 25 different companies, 17 in the ENDS space. The rest that remain, that can legally remain on the market, and the FDA is allowing to continue to offer that product, are those who have moved through the initial phases of the FDA submission and the application process, that they have found their information to be substantial enough to do a deep dive into the data which they have included for a harm reduction product. So there are millions of applications that were wiped out initially. Only those that remain that the FDA are allowing to remain on the market are those that have a marketing denial order, or B, have reached the substantive review phase of the application process.
So I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. 25 companies or 25 products?
25 products.
My concern is the FDA. I was a young man when the FDA started looking at THC levels in hemp when we were working through that, and I may be a dead man before they actually pick it up. And I have a feeling that there are more than 25 products out there that would probably be approved and regulated, but my concern is that we may be coming down too hard on those products in waiting, if you will, because of the slowness of the FDA process. And y'all are way more involved in this than I am, so I apologize for some ignorant backtrack here. But how much have we looked at maybe some alternative approval process for some of these products. I don't know a lot about how these are constructed, but I would imagine that they have relatively the same base ingredients. Is there any way that we can work through a conditional process on some of that? I don't want to get into right and wrong and all that other stuff. If we're going to have some of this stuff, I just want to make sure that it's handled fairly.
So if I'm speaking correctly, I don't think at this point that is a state level issue. I think that's an arm of or an extension of the FDA that's approached addressing these type products. And, furthermore, there's really two separate categories here. There is no way to submit a Delta 8 product for approval, only the nicotine products. Yet the nicotine products received much more of a higher standard or a threshold that they have to meet to have approval, where there's not even a process for submission on some of these mind-altering products that are out there that are really affecting our youth.
And you're talking about an FDA process?
Yes, it is fully an FDA process, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Senator McDaniel and then Senator Mays Bledsoe after him.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just make sure that I understand completely here. We're talking about regulating non-nicotine products. Is that accurate?
So this would affect multiple products. It would affect the non-regulated teenage threatening products out there as the Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, Kratom. I'm sure most of you have seen those things.
Well, I think you're getting into my second one. So the answers were a little broader than that. But can a non-nicotine product contain THC or CBD in it?
I think the answer to that is that these products have been so genetically altered to bypass the threshold that it is required to meet to be called THC that it's just a shell game. And maybe our Commonwealth attorney can speak to that just a bit. This is a very dangerous chemical to be putting in these things. We just have not seen that responsibility. And there's lack of responsibility even on the nicotine side. But when it comes to these other things, it's the wild, wild west.
Senator McDaniel, in regards, the best way I could phrase this was if you go back about 10 years ago, we had K2 Spice, we had all these potpourri fragrances that were at the gas stations, and the companies were changing it. You all would give us legislation to get them off, and within months they were back on with one molecule change difference. And we did that for a couple of years till you guys finally said, all right, enough's enough. And we just got rid of it. So you can't get those products anymore. And even if they change a molecule, they're off the market. That's the same way with these. It's the same with the Delta 8 and the Delta 10 products. Those are THC. The Delta 9 is what we typically see in the FDA and the state regulation is Delta 9 THC. Delta 8 and Delta 10 has just changed the molecule. It's having the same effect, and sometimes it's having a worse effect on our youth with the molecular change. So they're just tinkering with one molecule, making a different substance. So I think I've addressed your question. That, and I think this legislation would take care of all vapor products, nicotine and non-nicotine products.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. We're way over time here, but this is an important issue, and I, too, get a lot of calls about it. The public's very interested in this, so I want to give it the time it deserves. Senator Mays Bledsoe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very brief. As a mom of a high school and middle school kids, this has been on my radar for a long time, and I'm very passionate about it. Over 21 is one thing. I'm mostly really concerned about access to kids, but my real question is, other states are doing registries, correct? What are other states showing as product? I'm looking at the product list on this, and there's a lot of cancels. So do you have any averages or numbers you can share?
As a company, I can tell you that there are about 5 other states that may have changed just recently. There have been about 5 other states that have basically done what we are discussing here today, that we have registered with those states that basically just use the good laws that you guys have created already. The problem is there's not been a good enforcement arm or a process to actually gather up the bad actors and remove those products from the store shelves right now. So we have seen that be effective. Personally, we offer a menthol and we offer a tobacco flavored product. to people who are incarcerated.
Thank you.
We don't sell it outside that, but yes, I think it has been effective.
Thank you.
Senator, I can say there's 4 states, Alabama, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Wisconsin, that have legislation. Alabama, I believe it's Alabama, has over 1,000 products that are registered.
Okay, that was my intent. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Well,
Chair.
let's hear from the other side. If you all would just step back, and everyone that wishes to speak against this bill, let's be one big happy family and come all up together. Everyone that wants to speak against, while you're working your way to the table, I want to make a few comments as chairman. First of all, this is a huge issue for our parents, for our teenagers. I hear about it all the time. In introducing the jail dynamic into it's a dynamic which I'm not sure really is the I don't know quite how to say this, is the exactly, thank you, Mr. Leader, but I do think what we're concerned about, I do some volunteer work at Covington Catholic High School over the years, and kids going into these stores, and the law doesn't require that they be 18 years old, and it's a big problem. And but go ahead, welcome, introduce yourself for the record. I'm sorry you had to wait so long, and proceed with your testimony. Your mic.
Sorry, I'm new to this. My name is Tony Florence. I am a board member of the Kentucky Smoke-Free Association, which represents the vapor stores in Kentucky. And I'd really like to start with, I appreciate what Senator Storm is trying to accomplish with this bill. Promoting public health is admirable, but I feel like this bill addresses a very complex subject and it will not accomplish its goals. For over a decade, my 6 stores in and around Fayette County have serviced over 60,000 adult Kentuckians, providing them with a safer alternative to combustible cigarettes. If this bill passes, my store, as well as 450 vapor stores in Kentucky, will all immediately close, leaving 450,000 adult Kentuckians who vape no alternative except to go back to smoking cigarettes or to find products on the black market. To be fair, this bill has popped up in about 20 other states this year, all being supported and pushed by Big Tobacco because this gives them an absolute monopoly on the industry. There are 23 items that have received marketing orders. Most of them is hardware. There's only 8 actual flavors, and they are all owned by Big Tobacco. RJ Reynolds with their Views and Enjoy with their Enjoy products. I've got the list from the FDA marketing order site. So it's all just Big Tobacco products. But I keep on getting this issue with youth usage, and I've got a 15-year-old daughter. And she's in Lexington Catholic High School, and she's in this type stuff, or talks about it because things have changed. In 2013, combustible cigarette usage was 13% of high school students, and vaping was just 5%. By 2018 to 2019, Juul and their aggressive marketing got vaping up to 27.5%. That's an epidemic. But now, 4 years later, we've aggressively reduced high school usage down to just 10%, and combustible cigarette usage is down to 1.9%. The most commonly used products by kids in 2023 that were not banned by the FDA in 2023 was Views and Juul. This epidemic of youth usage started with Juul in the hands of high schoolers and will end with Big Tobacco's Juul and Views products back in the hands of high schoolers if SB 344 passes. And my question is, what's the percentage of youth usage that is acceptable so that adults can continue to get access to the vaping products that they are using to keep them off combustible cigarettes? I mean, you have to go back over a decade to get to lower numbers, what our high schoolers are using right now. And I provided a graphic for many of you that shows you exactly how tobacco is being used by high schoolers and how vaping is. And you can see there's a huge drop-off in these last couple of years. So SB 344 closes down all 450 vapor stores while leaving C stores and gas stations to continue to sell combustible cigarettes and Big Tobacco disposables to kids. In 2023, the FDA issued 322 warning letters in Kentucky for selling tobacco products to kids. Only 4 of those were issued to vapor stores. Vapor stores are age gated to 21 and up, and we do a remarkable job making sure our products go into adult hands. This bill does nothing to address the youth issue. We are very much, as vapor stores, want licensing, and we want higher fines because we're not the bad actors in this industry. We are the ones who age gate the product and keep it out of kids' hands so the fines can be through the roof because we're not going to be the ones penalized. It'll be the gas stations and the C stores. The FDA already has a framework for handling vapor products. If you're wanting a tobacco product to become eligible for sale in the United States, you have to submit a pre-market tobacco product application. These applications can be hundreds of thousands of pages, actually, including all the ingredients, studies, marketing, and labels. Evaluating these PMTAs is taking a very long time for the FDA, so if you have a pre-market tobacco product application submitted, then the FDA uses their discretionary enforcement to allow these products to stay on the shelves while they're evaluating your PMTA. From the FDA's February 26, 2024 document on enforcement actions for tobacco products, they specifically say, the decision whether to take enforcement action will be made on a case-by-case basis, taking into account youth use and other risk factors. The FDA has a $750 million budget and access to 100% of the contact information for the tens of thousands of products that have submitted PMTAs. They have shown many times in the past how a 68-cent stamp in a warning letter has shut down youth-appealing products. SB 344 is an example of overreach, as it gives big tobacco a monopoly on the vapor industry while other products are still pending with their PMTAs. And to be clear, the FDA has never asked a state to pass a directory bill, which indicates the federal capabilities are sufficient without imposing state-level measures. And most importantly, last year, the FDA and the National Institute of Health funded a Yale study where they showed that in states and cities where vapor products are restricted or banned, that for every vapor pod that isn't sold, there's a corresponding increase in 15 cigarettes being sold. What this means is that a staggering percentage of the 450,000 adult vapors in Kentucky will go back to smoking cigarettes or buying bootleg vapor products.
If you could conclude.
Oh, I'm almost there. So 450,000 will go back to smoking cigarettes or buying bootleg products. As a matter of public health, this is a nightmare scenario. 1 in 10 Kentuckians are vaping. From 2021 to 2022, 99,000 fewer adult Kentuckians were smoking combustible cigarettes. Don't undo all this hard work while destroying adult access to vapor products by giving big tobacco a monopoly.
My name is Troy LeBlanc. I own a Kentucky company called OPMH. I have 11 stores throughout Kentuckiana, as well as manufacturing in 3 separate countries, Malaysia, Romania, and up in Chicago. I also distribute to 58 different countries around the world, and I'm approved in all 27 member countries with all my products in the European Union. I, like the gentleman from Crossroads, also have applications that are accepted by the FDA, and I am moving along the process. My application was somewhere in the neighborhood of 100,000 pages, and it's cost me upwards of $4 million right now. $4 million that, quite frankly, a lot of small businesses around the state don't have. It's unfortunate because Big Tobacco has kind of set this guideline with the FDA to make it incredibly expensive to stay in business. However, my products that are accepted are minimally different than other products that aren't accepted. I gave you guys each a presentation here. And you can see here on page 3, on the left picture, you have X's. That's everything that will be banned as of January 1st in this vapor store. On page 4, on the left, that's another competitor store. That's everything that'll be banned on the left with the red X over it. Ironically, my product on both those pages is the one in green. So I essentially will be the only one left on those shelves. On the right, you'll see anything that has a green arrow is available in a lower nicotine option on both those pages. Everything with a red X on the right is a high nicotine. So you're essentially taking every low nicotine option for vapors off the shelf. The whole point of vaping is to start at a certain level and work your way down until you eventually get to 0. However, the products that we're keeping on the shelf on page 4, Enjoy, Juul, and Vuse, only come in 1 nicotine strength. It's 50 milligrams per milliliter. Every milliliter in a Juul contains 2 packs of cigarettes and nicotine. The average nicotine that's sold in a vapor store, most of which you're banning, is 3 milligrams per milliliter. There's a huge economic impact on this.
Okay, sir.
Yep.
I hate to cut you off, but we're way over time, and you still have a colleague there that needs to speak.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank
Good
you guys
morning.
for having us here. So my name is Tommy Wilson. I'm from Pulaski County, Kentucky, and I own 2 small vape stores, one in Pulaski County, one in Wayne County. And my colleagues have given you the statistics, so I'm here to speak to you on a personal level as a business owner and as a human being who's found vapor. So 2012, I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day, couldn't breathe, coughed all the time. I found vapor, and I'm a lifelong professional photographer. I mean, I've been doing it in Pulaski County for 45 plus years. Had no desire or need to open any other business. But once I found vapor and had been off of cigarettes completely for over a year, it hit me, this works. Everything else I've tried did not work. So I'm going to invest and open stores. So that's what we did. And we now serve over 1,000 a month Kentucky 21 and older adults that find vaping a safer alternative than combustible cigarettes. And I think we can all agree as humans that anything has to be better than combustible cigarettes. And as my colleague said, if you all pass this bill, immediately I will have to shut my 2 stores down. My 7 employees will be out of a job. My thousands plus a month of customers will no longer have access to what they deem to be a safer alternative.
Thank you for your testimony. For me as chairman, and I'm just one person, the chairman, but it's not about, for me it's about freedom. If someone wants to smoke, I'm a former cigarette smoker. I don't vape now and I don't smoke now. But if someone wants to smoke cigarettes, that's their business. If someone wants to vape, that's their business. It's the underage part of it which concerns me. Not that vaping is somehow is a mission to get everybody off cigarettes. But that's just me. I'm just one guy. Do anybody else have anything they want to say before we vote? Is there a motion?
Could I say one thing, that there is a solution?
Hold on just a minute. Is there a motion? There's a motion. Is there a second? It's awful timid here. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Let the record reflect. Yes, sir. What was your one question?
There is kind of a solution to this, and I respectfully request that you consider moving all the flavored vapor products to 21 and up age-gated stores. It is a method that vapor stores can protect our youth from being from using these products, as the real culprits are the C-stores and the gas stations.
I have a feeling you haven't heard the last word on this. There's a bill coming from the House. It's a little bit different than this bill, but we have procrastinated on this a long time. We've heard testimony during the interim, and there's a lot of disagreement on the issue, but I know there's also a lot of concern by the public on this issue. Any further comments before we vote? Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Adams.
Vote and explain.
Vote and explain, please.
I'm going to vote aye to move this bill along. I think that Senator Storm has done a nice job on this. And I was encouraged when he did say that there would be time to make some amendments to this bill. And so I look forward to checking those out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Douglas.
Vote and explain, Mr. Chairman.
Vote and explain.
I'm also going to vote aye. In the healthcare space, we have a lot of concern for all of our patients. But I do think I would like to have some of my other colleagues have an opportunity to take a look at this bill, and if any changes need to be made, I think they can be made at that time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator Higdon.
Explain my aye vote.
Vote and explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My main concern is underage and bad actors, and this bill I think is punitive and more than a solution. And so I look forward to changes in this bill to try to find something that addresses the real problem. And I vote aye.
Senator Howell. Senator Mays Bledsoe.
Vote and explain, please.
Vote and explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I vote aye, and I just want to share some of the frustration I think I see as the lack of enforcement. We want to protect good actors. We want to have a different conversation with bad actors, and the enforcement piece is still part of the conversation that's not come with the House and Senate versions. So I don't think we're done, and I look forward to that conversation as well. Thank you.
Senator McDaniel.
Aye.
Senator Nemus.
Vote and explain, Chair.
Vote and explain.
I know it's to the chair's dismay that we're taking time up, but I wanted to explain my vote. I am for the registry for legal and regulated products. I'm concerned about having to wait for the FDA's approval. I vote aye.
Senator Thayer.
Explain my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Vote and explain.
I vote aye. So many good comments by the chairman and the members. You know, the conundrum that we have with vaping products is, on the good side, it's an off-ramp for adults seeking to get off of nicotine cigarettes. But it's also a gateway to cigarette smoking by teenagers. We passed a law making it illegal to sell them to those who are 21 years and younger, and apparently we have a lot of bad actors and no enforcement. I don't know what the solution is, except some point we're probably going to have to treat vaping products like alcohol and have tougher enforcement. We're not there yet. I do know the bill sponsor very well, and he likes to work in a multilateral fashion. I don't want to see good actors on the retail side put out of business. But we've got to figure out a way to get at the bad actors. This is a step in the right direction, but I feel like we've got 1,000 miles to go before we sleep on this issue. I vote aye. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Thomas.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to explain my aye vote, please.
Vote and explain.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, it is obvious that we have a real problem in our society with middle schoolers and high schoolers using vaping products. I hear that a lot from teachers. I hear that a lot from parents. And we have got to get a handle on this. And, you know, perhaps we do need increased regulation. Perhaps we need to look at, you know, how we can get rid of the bad actors and keep those good people. But the problem is we've got to address this problem, and this is a good first step. And for that reason, Mr. President, I vote aye.
Chairman Schickel.
I vote aye. And I want to say ditto to everyone that's explained their vote. I think everyone's expressed it very well. Senate Bill 344 is passed with favorable expression that same should pass. Congratulations, and I do think we have our work cut out for us in the future, but this is a good first step. Thank you all. Anyone that is here for House Bill 361, that will be passed over and heard next week. The next item on the agenda is Senate Bill 164, an act relating to the building trades profession. Senator Shelley Funky Fromeyer. Welcome, honored guests. You are old friends of this committee, and I think there's wide consensus on your bill. Introduce yourselves for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Chairman Schickel, and I want to be your young friend on the committee.
I stand corrected.
And I would like my other guest. I'm Shelley Funky from Iowa State Senator District 24.
Brian Miller, Executive Vice President, Building Industry Association of Northern Kentucky, President of the Innsbruck Building Institute, and President of the Covington Academy of Heritage Trades.
Hello, Diane McConnell. I'm the Director of Workforce Development.
What we're bringing to you today is what I like to say maybe is polishing some of the edges on how we bring dual credit that is more directed towards kind of the building and the trades industry. So I'm going to turn this over to the Executive Director, and he'll provide a little more background on Senate Bill 164.
Please do, and I believe we did hear this during the interim. In fact, I know we did.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, and ladies and gentlemen of the committee for hearing this important bill today. To be brief, as Senator Funky Fromeyer said, to broad brush this is taking what has been great work by the legislature in creating dual credit systems within the Department of Education, extrapolating this over to the Department of Housing, Buildings, and Construction. As we discussed during the interim, we believe that this is just simply has been looked over because these are two different departments of government dealing with workforce development issues. So when it comes to construction licensure, that education requirement, the curriculum approval and development, as well as approving education providers, is done at the Department of Housing, Buildings, and Construction. As it stands today, there is not codified language within statute that would set up a dual credit opportunity for these students. So we operate the Enniswater Building Institute as a licensed proprietary school within the state of Kentucky. There are other licensed proprietary schools just like ours across the state. And this would allow students that are in the public school systems or in the state-run area technology centers to align their curriculum with ours to achieve year one attainment in our normal post-secondary adult programs. So,
We have a motion and a second on the bill. Is there any further discussion? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak against this bill? Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Adams, Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Harper Angel, Senator Higdon, Senator Howe, Senator Mays Bledsoe, Senator McDaniel, Senator Nemus,
Aye.
Senator Thayer, Senator Thomas, Chairman Schickel.
Senate Bill 164, as amended by the Senate Committee Substitute, is passed with favorable expression. And
Motion for consent.
What?
Okay.
I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Senate Bill 164 is passed with favorable expression that same should pass. Let the record be corrected. Thank you. To unanimous vote. And Brian, I want to compliment you for all the work you've done on workforce development with private sector money. You're not a big fancy operation, but you get down there with the young men and young women and get the job done, and it's been a pleasure working with you.
Second.
The next item, and our last item, is House Bill 17. I apologize for the wait. And we do have one person signed up to speak in favor or opposition. Where are you? Which are you? Favor? Okay, good. Well, you're in the right place then. Introduce yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Wade Williams. I'm the state representative for House District 4. I'm just going to give you a little background on House Bill 17. This was a unanimous vote in the House last year. We did present in the interim committee and reference this bill just for a little background. And House Bill 17 realistically is just a cleanup or modernization bill that modernizes fee structures that was established in 1994 of a flat rate in statute of $75 for licensed fee holders to distribute ophthalmic materials. And this bill would allow their elected board, to set those based on the needs of their continuing education and so forth.
We have a motion, and who's the second? Motion and a second. Motion by Senator Julie, seconded by Senator Howe, and I believe we have a question. Question? Oh, okay. Are there any questions? Any questions before we vote? Anyone in the audience who wishes to speak against this bill? Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Adams, Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Harper Angel, Senator Higdon, Senator Howe, Senator Mays Bledsoe, Senator McDaniel, Senator Nemus,
Aye.
Senator Thayer, Senator Thomas, Chairman Schickel.
Aye. House Bill 17 is passed with favorable expression that same should pass. Congratulations. Thank you for your patience while you wait. Is there anything else to come before the committee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Without